Hey guys, so it is mid-November right now, and I was going to provide an update on my potted trees. I'm not really too sure where I'm going to go through on this video. It might just be kind of random stuff, a little bit unorganized, so I'm not really too sure. I'm going to try to talk about the different projects I have going on, what I'm doing here and there, and this all involves my potted trees, so it's gonna be a lot of stuff. Might be a long video, and we'll see how it goes. So it's mid-November right now, and the weather's been pretty chilly. I mean, my nighttime temps has been getting into the mid and low 40s. Last night, for example, got into 43. The good thing is the last couple of weeks, uh, the daytime temp has been chilly, right? But it's been sunny and it's been nice and dry. That's a good thing. It's been pretty nice and dry. Prior to then, I was getting a lot of like kind of dew in the morning, which is a bit of an issue in colder weather. Kind of cause some diseases and stuff like that. So lots of times I get questions about how often do I water in winter, how often do I water in summer, and my approach is because, and again, if you guys have not looked at the soil video, you can find it under the playlist. There's a section on soil. You have to have the right potting medium. I'm not going to get into the details on that, but you have to have the right potting medium to water consistently and not have your plants die on you. So it's been cold, but I've been watering my plants every other day, even through this fall, and then through winter I'll probably be watering it. And if it rains I won't be watering it, but if it's kind of not raining, I'll probably still be watering it every other day, maybe at least 2 times a week, even in the middle of winter. And that's because on my potted trees, I have the right soil medium. I don't expect any rot or anything from that. This might be a little bit different if you're working in-ground trees and your soil is a mixture of different sand. If it's not sandy or it's too clay, then you have to kind of control that. But in terms of in the pots, I do water it very consistently. I have no issues with anything rotting. So let's kind of take a look at it. Let's kind of see what kind of projects I have right now. And again, this might not be that organized, but I do get a lot of questions on potted trees, and people are pretty interested in what I'm kind of doing with the potted trees. So I think I've shown this in the past, but maybe this, I'm not too sure when the last time I updated. But this right here, you look at this right here, this is all our tofu rootstocks. Tofu rootstocks right here, and some more here. That one kind of very vigorous one. And how I start this off, when I'm eating like a box of tofu, you pick up like a box for like, they're like less than 20 bucks, and then every time I finish off a food, I just kind of throw it into the pot, and then I just leave it there and let it grow. I kind of really don't pay too much attention to it, and then eventually after a year or two, I'll separate into the different pots, and I have some that's separated right now, like these. These are about 2 years old right now. When I separated, I kind of butchered a lot of the roots, so they took a little while to kind of recover, but then they did recover pretty well. Next time when I am gonna be separating it, I plan to kind of flush it out with water. This one was kind of just rip the roots apart. Won't be doing that again. So I have individually in pots some 2-year-olds that has been 2-year-olds that I'm gonna eventually graft over. My plan is to graft it over with seedling scions, and most likely it's gonna be grafted over with sweet tart seedling scions, because my sweet tart seedling scions has been identified as the clones, and it's going pretty well. I could use it as additional scions to graft. So I got about like eight of these individual autophos, and then maybe before we get into winter, I'll be separating out some of these pots into individual. Some of these 15 gallons. These are 15 gallons into individual pots, and most likely be more 15 gallons. Okay. Here's some more seedlings right here. This section right here has been mostly kind of classic tasting mangoes. It's been Cogshaw, cogshaw, rosy gold. So I mean, I'm not really gonna experiment too much with this. I would like to start off with a more premium variety for experiment to see what kind of fruits it has. But if these do live, you know, I'm gonna maybe use them as rootstocks to keep them. But I'm not really in too much of a rush to pot this up because I have a lot of the more kind of premium varieties that I rather spend the time kind of pampering. So, but I do like pickling. I do have some picklings here, and I do like pickling. So I might might put a few more of these into the ground next year. So this one's a little bit yellowish. This one's a bit more greener. They're both kind of picklings. So pickling has a classic flavor, but it has some strong coconut notes that I like. So these are more of the classic ones. I've been trying to group the pots into different, kind of group them all together. If it's like pickling, I kind of group those together, but they're still kind of a bit spread out. Okay. Yeah, these are more kind of like the classic kind of seedlings I had. And in terms of seedlings, I was able to get quite a bit of seedlings back in 2023. 2024 was a bit more difficult to get my hands on seedlings, and I expect it to be a bit more difficult kind of going forward and so forth. So this might be my last huge planting projects of seedlings. Where in 2023 I planted probably over 100 seedlings of different varieties. In 2024 I planted just, you know, not too many, maybe a couple dozens. And a friend of mine, Adam, hey, shout out to Adam, sent me some seeds I was able to kind of get going. But you know, for the most part, unless I'm going to be able to get my hands on some seeds, I probably won't be having another kind of huge major planting. So whatever this I have on me is what I'll probably be working with for the next couple years. Okay, so yeah, lots of cogshaw, some rosy golds and pink pickerings here. Let's see what's coming up. Oh, here's a Tommy Atkins. Really kind of strange looking leaves on this one. And for the most part, my stuff has been pretty disease free. The only thing I had some disease with which looked like anthracnose, which was a Tommy Atkins seedling. It's this one right here. And yeah, look at it. It's just like, I don't know, it looked like anthracnose. But besides that, all my other plants has been pretty much disease free. It's just the occasional battling with like ants and stuff, which I face every single spring and summer. So here's another Otafo seedling 2 years old. I'll be putting some of these in the ground, and like I said, I'm going to be doing some major grafting with these Otafo rootstocks next spring. Okay, here's a few more Otafo rootstocks. Pretty big, pretty good sized trunk. This is right here, it's a Sun Paris seedling. I got this from a friend of mine, and it's a seedling of Sun Paris, and it hasn't bloomed yet. I actually like the really strong smell, Alfonso-like smell of this seedling, so I've been kind of grafting it onto other varieties, onto other trees, and it hasn't bloomed yet. We'll see what it does. Okay, some more seedlings. I think this section have a bunch of lemon zest right here. Lemon zest, when I planted lemon zest out, I had probably more than half of them. Just it's a polyembryonic variety, but it has lots of times it has seeds that's just one embryo, you know. So when I planted lemon zest out, like I would say over half of them were just like a single trunk, never kind of produced you know, more than one embryo. So some of these you can see is just single trunk. They smell like lemon zest, but I'll be experimenting a bit more with this in terms of grafting onto other trees when they get larger. Here's a peach cobbler seedling right here. Some stuff that's in the ground. Some of these I started this year, which wasn't, I didn't have that great of a success starting seeds this year. Not sure what the difference is. It might have been like the quality of the seeds, or last year when I started, I had it in front of my garage. It was sitting on the driveway, so cement. So maybe that added a bit more heat to it. This time it's more kind of in my yard. They're both facing the same direction, so morning sun, afternoon shades. But last year I thought my seedlings had quite a bit more growth, and I wasn't sure if that was the heat from the driveway cement that made the difference. But yeah, that's some of these. These will start out this year. Various stuff like Angie and Dwarf Hawaiian, some more guava, Saint Talone seedlings. Okay, let's see what else I got here. Let's see, now we're going to get into a patch of a few grafted varieties. This is Phoenix right here. This is from Florida, but it's supposed to be non-turpentine rootstocks. And this one's a Indian variety, or could be Pakistani or Indian, called Sindhu or something like that. There's some PPK seedlings, single trunk, PPK seedling, also single trunk. I feel like lots of the lineage of that PPK and slash lemon meringue and the lemon zest and the orange sherbet, they seem to have seeds that are both monoembryonic and polyembryonic. Here's a guava Saint Talone seedling. There are 2 trunks right here. I'm pretty sure my guess would be the most biggest one right here. It's probably the pollinated one. That's my guess. Let's see, some more grafted varieties. This is Dwarf Hawaiian on Florida rootstock. I have here a Pickering, also Florida rootstock. They have everything on Florida rootstock. I am keeping them in pots, and they have been doing pretty good for me in pots. There's some more seedlings. I think I have some maha here, and some lemon zest. A few malikas. Let's see, what is this one? This one's cotton candy seedling right here. Okay. And here's a Bombay seedling. That's 2 Bombay seedling. All my embryonic stuff, they start off pretty strong. So this is definitely needs to be potted. It's 1 gallon, and it's pretty huge, pretty tall. Probably pot it before we get into winter. See, this is a 4017. It's actually flushing. Florida rootstock, supposed to be non-turpentine. So surprisingly, I only have a few grafted potted varieties that are flushing vegetation right now. The rest are either dormant or not doing anything, but this one's flushing. Let's see, here's a Bungan. This is Ambra Poly, Seacrest right here, and Ugly Betty right here. This one is a Neelam, and another seedling of Bombay. I like the leaf smell on this one. The other 2 didn't really have a strong Alfonso smell. My other 2 seedlings, but this one did. So let's see. Here's a All Summer's Mollies, and some more seedlings here. I think this is a Sweet Tart. And this is the one that's been very, very popular, but it has not looked great. I'm hoping it survives this winter for me. I'm getting a lot of yellowing of the leaves. It's the only plant I have that's been having a bit of issue. And this is 4026. Let's see. Take a look at some of these other larger potted trees. This one's buttercream, flushing vegetation, which is pretty surprising to me. I hope it remains as vegetation. Looks vegetation for now. And let's see, this is a Fallon right here. And we have what else here? This is a Golden Queen, my oldest potted tree from 2021. That one. So let's see. This is a Vietnamese variety. Got what it's called. Let's see, Vin Long. So, see how it goes. Some more seedlings. This is a rosy gold with 2 trunks. And again, these were started in 2023. And definitely one of them is a clone. One of them is a zygotic pollinated plant. So I'm just growing out, see how it does. Some more sweet tart seedlings. Let's see what's down. I'm just kind of go around to the other side. This one's one of my nicer, larger seedlings, and I think I plan to probably put this in the ground just because it's growing so vigorously. Thick old chunk already too. And look at this thick old chunk already. And this, I hadn't noted this as a coconut cream seedlings. Unfortunately, I don't think it is. I think I might have mislabeled it or so forth, because you might see this one large chunk, but there's a little bunch of baby chunks around it, or a couple of baby chunks around it, and they don't look like coconut cream clones. I know this one for sure is not. I know for sure this one's the pollinated one, not the clone, because it smells very kind of West Indian spice, but the other one smells very citrusy, like a lot of the Gary, the New Zealand Gary hybrids that they developed. And I thought I had this label as coconut cream, but after seeing the leaves, it's more likely it's an M4, not a coconut cream, just because coconut cream doesn't produce that pale of a green leaves like the M4 does. So that's my guess, but we'll see. I don't know. I definitely one that I mislabeled the seedling on. I try my best to kind of keep all my seedlings pretty organized and labeled. Okay, and here's some curry. So some more turpentine Florida rootstock, but these are non-zero rootstocks. Definitely turpentine non-zero, but I think possibly it's Pine Island just from the cleft grafts I see. But I have about 10 cherries here. I let some fruit this year, let some not fruit, but you know, they're looking pretty good. I like curry, so that's my kind of curry army right here. Have a Malika right here, some curry fruitlets that still hang about, but I got about 10 of these guys. They're in pots. I don't have no intention of planting them in the ground, but who knows, you know. Plans always do kind of change. Okay, let's keep on going. Let's see. This one's a coconut cream seedling. Very unusual leaf. This is like very reddish. The mid ribs are very red. It smells classic. It smells very classic Florida variety. No citrus smell to it, but I still have some clones that smells more citrusy. So coconut cream. This one's a definitely pollinated variety. Okay, here is some PPK. So I grew out maybe about 3 or 4 PPK seedlings. I only had one of the seedlings that came out with 2 trunks. So this one's definitely a clone, one definitely is not. They look the same to me. I cannot identify it by shape, leaf, or smell. So I'm gonna just grow it out, see what it does. Okay. Let's see what else I got here. This is an Iman Pasan seedling that I started in November of last year. I love Iman Pasan. This one does smell like the variety. It's monoembryonic, so it's not going to be too tight, but maybe if it still has that kind of flavor profile, I would definitely still love to grow it out. Let's see what else. Here's some sweet tart seedlings. These are ones I have clearly identified between the clones and the pollinated zygotic seed. So right here is the pollinated variety. I think I have 3 of these that I clearly identified, 3 or 4 of these, of which one's the clones and not, and that was purely by leaf smell. So these ones were smelling definitely West Indian, West Indian. Some of them Alfonso, and then the other ones kind of smelled like a sweet tart, which is kind of a bit more acidic but not kind of citrusy. So this one's definitely the fertilized seedling. This is the clones right here. Got some damage, I think, from the sun this late summer. So it seems to be kind of splitting off, branching off. I'm gonna just let it because I'm gonna use that as a science source to graft onto my tofu seedlings. So okay, here's some more sweet tart seedling. Which one is okay? This one right here is the fertilized plant, and these other 2 are not. There's another sweet tart seedling. And let me try to see which one I have. So this right here is the fertilized seedling, right? And this other one is the non-fertilized seedling. And again, I identified this by clearly different leaf smell. These were like kind of Indian smelling leaves, the ones I identified. I think there was one that had a strong citrus component that I never smelled before in sweet tart. So that's what it is. I have to look at my notes on it, but I am keeping it together like this. I don't plan to separate out any of my polyembryonic seedling because of that fact. I want to clearly identify which one's the clones and which one's the zygotic fertilized seedling. And that's just me planning, because I plan to use the sign material to graft onto other for other experiments, whether it's kind of keeping it growing vegetatively or trying to kind of get it to maybe fruit earlier if I graft it onto more mature trees. Okay, so let's see. Here's a bunch of honeykiss. See that? Honeykiss was like a slow grower, but it seems to be growing like at a good pace. I'm really surprised by the seedlings pace, because it started off slow. All the seeds was pretty slow, but it's kind of going at a consistently good pace. So I got a few honeykiss seedlings on that. Here's lemon zest. Lemon zest definitely ones I have already identified, and I have grafted it onto my manila rootstocks too. So I grafted all the ones in my manila rootstock already. A strong Indian spice smell on this. This one too, lemon zest with a strong Indian spice smell. Another lemon zest. Kind of been identified which is which. Some more seedlings. Some of these are red, like the sweet tart here. Have a few mahas. Mahas, I like how maha grows, but all my seedlings of maha are just it's just so slow growing. So Let's see what else I have here. Not even, I'm not sure which variety this is. Let me check. This one's Venus. And then I have an M4 right there. Here's a Maha seedling. It's probably my best growing seedling. Don't pay attention to this right here. This is nothing. It's just this one, my best growing Maha seedling, which isn't that great looking. And then I have a variegated Maha seedling. So interesting. Very cool looking, but I doubt that this would do. I doubt that this would do well in California, unfortunately. Alright, let's take a look at it some more. Let's see what else I got. Some M4 seedlings. I think these are the clones, but this came from a really weak seed. They had like 3 or 4 chunks, and you know, a few of them died off, so I don't know which one is really which. Never got to identify it. Here's a white piri, Florida rootstock. Here is 3415. This one was like a very vigorous grower. Florida rootstock, non-turpentine. Here's a Munkansi. Definitely probably turpentine rootstock. It's a good size rootstock right now. Nice size. Here's a Jahangir. Here's a M4 seedling, which I have 3 really good sized chunk. And this is looking so good. I was not planning to put it in the ground, but because of the pace it's going, how well it's growing, I might have to put it in the ground. So I'm growing some of these seedlings in pots for a couple of reasons. Some of them I do plan to put in the ground, but I plan to harvest, like I mentioned, like the clones of the scions to graft as experiments. And being in pots, like here in California, like you could get a seedling to bloom for you, and like probably some would even bloom for you in in 3 years, you know. But like anywhere from 3 to 7 years, they bloom. So they bloom really easily here in California. You don't have to wait a long time. I mean, starting with some seedling, if it's a poly seedling, you know, the amount of time you spend pampering, say, grafted turpentine tree to the size you want, probably takes you the same amount of time to get to a tree that's probably not even that big. But if you had a seedling in like 5 years, you could probably get a pretty large size, decent sized tree, and one that will probably end up flying pretty soon and producing. So, you know, there's some benefits either way, but definitely for sure, if you have a seedling in a pot, it is going to delay the blooming on it. My experience with seedlings in pot is that it'll probably delay most blooming on it for maybe a year or 2, you know, before it blooms. So that's one of the advantages. I mean, for me, that's one of the advantages, because I am kind of doing all these experiments and, you know, kind of selecting for clones and so forth. But if not, you know, my recommendation is like you start out most seedlings, maybe give it a couple years in a pot. You definitely get much more better growth in the short term in pots for the first 2, possibly 3 years. But definitely in the ground, they will grow much larger and faster after that initial term. So you kind of start off in pots for the first couple of years and put in the ground. It's probably the best way to optimize your growth rate on it, versus kind of just putting tiny seedling directly in the ground that first couple of years. You're always going to have like some seedlings that just grow so vigorously, right? Like you could put in the ground and it would just grow so vigorously. You always have one of that, but for the most part, most of the seedlings don't grow as fast the first couple of years versus one in ground versus ones in pot. The potted one will outpace them, you know. So this one's doing so well, I might have to put it in the ground. My only fear of putting some stuff in the ground is that if they die, you know, because they're all like, you know, pests and gophers, winter and whatnot, you know. So, this one's a Keel Savoy. This is my third try at a Keel Savoy. I've been trying to get this plant, and every time I get one, they're always like a fake one. Either people don't know what they are growing, or they don't know what they're eating. I mean, I think the green eating Thai mangoes is kind of, you know, it's you know, kind of a bit of niche, maybe like mostly Southeast Asians. So some people who's propagating it, they don't know or don't eat it. So this is my third time at it. This one, I think this one looks like a Keel Savoy from the leaves and stuff. It seems like it, so hopefully it is. My third try at it. So all these mislabeled Keel Savoy stuff I'll be getting. Okay. This one's a Julie. On a turpentine rootstock, or at least Florida rootstock. It sent out some suckers. I've been kind of curious with these suckers because they have a strong Indian spice to it, very unusual. So I've been some of these turpentine rootstocks, I kind of been letting them sucker because I've been kind of curious about it. Because the ones directly from Zill, they never sucker, right? They never send on it. But these ones that's like kind of cleft graft and from probably maybe a different nursery, they always sucker, but they always seem a bit more stronger, more vigorous. So just want to let it sucker, just kind of see in it. But the leaf got me interested because there's a very Indian Alfonso spice smell to it. I mean, this could be either turpentine that's been crossed, or it could just have not been a turpentine seedling. It could have just been like a random seedling that was used to graft it onto. So who knows? But you know, I've been trying to focus a bit on Julie. From what I could understand from people, it has the flavor profile I like, but I have never tasted the fruit. So here's one fruit. Looks like a healthy fruit. It's a late summer fruit. I'm gonna just let it hang and see if it ripens in spring or something, because I am grafting a bit of Julie onto a lot of trees, and I really need to know what it tastes like. So that's my lone very late summer Julie fruit. Here's an M4 seedling. There's a few chunks here, but the most unique one is this one right here. Smells like M4, does not look like M4. Very reddish growth, reddish stem, reddish flush. So let's see what happens with it. Okay, let's get into some of the grafter plants. See, here's a juicy peach in Florida, non-turpentine rootstock. Here's another M4 Florida non-turpentine rootstock too. Let's see what I got here. This is a white Alfonso. I've been very interested in this. I would like to kind of collect some of the Alfonso strains or Alfonso tasting fruits, hybrids of it, but you know, Alfonso flavored ones. Okay. This is a Cafty K3. Let's see, let's keep on going. This is a Chansa grafted onto a Indonesian rootstock known as Podang. Kept on sending out suckers like crazy, so I've been removing it. But then this last few I removed and kept 2, just because I'm hoping it will pamper the tree a bit, since I haven't got any good flush from the Chansa. So, but come spring I will be removing these. I will be removing these Podang suckers. I might even graft. I do plan to use the scions to graft it. Just kind of keep some of these unusual like rootstocks, and I don't know. It's a collection. Getting obsessed with collecting. So here's a Super Alfonso. Here's an old 15 fruit punch right here. Let's see. Here's an Edward. There's a Terrelay. Some of this is turpentine rootstock. Some of this is also Florida, but supposed to be non-turpentine rootstock. And here's a Banganapali. Florida non-turpentine rootstock. Here's a Suva recna. This is definitely a Zill. This one's definitely a Zill plant. It was so weepy. I try to kind of brace it up, so let's see what happens with it. This one's a Dashiri right here. Dashiri. I have another sun pari right here too. Sun pari is growing pretty aggressively, so I'm gonna try to get that grafted onto other stuff. And I got a Madam Francis back there. So these are some of my grafted stuff. My plan is to eventually get this all grafted onto my Laverne Manila or alfalfa rootstocks. I'm just running out of branches, and there's somewhere I could graft that. Rather graft it onto a branch you kind of dedicate it to. So I'm still kind of waiting for this to branch, and that's my plan. And all these, I do not plan to put it in the ground. These will remain as potted trees. The other experiment with some of my potted trees too is that I really want to see if I could get early fruit here in SoCal for my potted trees. They flower early, December, Jan, they're gonna be flowering. Just here in SoCal, they never really survive winter early flowering. Even if you spray and stuff, just because it gets windy, dew, anything, it just doesn't survive. So my plan is to see what kind of minimal protection I could give to them to see if those flowers survive. And my initial process to start off with is just seeing if just a simple overhead protection will make the flowers survive. And that overhead protection, it's not like a tree or anything like that. It's like more inorganic, so there's not like any kind of disease that kind of falls onto the blooms. And that would be under a patio cover, like a backyard patio or the patio roofing of your front house, whatever it is. That's my initial plan. So once some of these start blooming, I am going to be moving them under the protection of a patio and see if that is just enough to keep the blooms alive. It might not be, but it's an experiment, and if that works, I might be able to get some sort of ripe fruit maybe in June or July. Over here in California, most of our fruits doesn't ripen until November. November at best, especially in a coastal area like me. It's November, December. I have fruits that I don't expect to ripen until probably February, March. So that's just us here in coastal California. If you're more inland, you'll probably be able to get a bit more earlier ripening. But coastal California, lots of times the first bloom never survives, so the reblooms are the one that produce fruit. Sometimes a third bloom is even needed to produce fruit, and by then it's setting and fruiting pretty late, and then it's not quite enough heat until the peak of our summer to kind of really push it to size up. And eventually, it could be late, like mine. I got stuff, like I mentioned. I think it's gonna be February, March until it ripens. That's some of my Super Julie, Little Gem. I don't think those are gonna ripen until February, March. Okay, so that's the initial experiment. So that's one experiment along with a bunch of other ones, which includes using seedling scions to either push vegetation, or seedling scions to see if I could get it to bloom early on mature trees and get to taste the fruit. So that's part of it. Let me show you guys. I think I still have some other. Let me show you another seedling that I began sorting out. Alright, so this is a seedling alfalfa that was started out this year. I've been doing that every year for the last 3 years. Just like I mentioned, just throwing in a pot, 15 gallon. But this year has been my weakest growth on this that I've had, and I think it's because I just don't have it in the right spot. This year I was really running out of space, so it didn't get that good morning sun that I like to give it. It was getting a lot of afternoon sun. So this has started this summer. It's pretty weak. It's not looking that great. Hopefully next year it hooks up a bit, but very, very tiny stems. So unfortunately that's the case with this. Usually I try to give any seedlings morning sun until afternoon, and they seem to kind of perk up much better. But these are very tiny, unfortunately, this year versus the prior years I started. And these are even worse, which I was experimenting with not dehusking the seeds to remove the embryo. So I just kind of plant it with husk and everything. And unfortunately, the alfalfa seedlings, I think the seedlings, the embryos ain't like plump like a Kent monoembryonic one. So they probably have a harder time pushing out and so forth. But I put in seeds, and like only less than a handful actually made it out of the seed husk. So I would not be doing that again. I would definitely be dehusking the seeds and putting it in. So just my experience with it. I think some varieties you don't need to dehusk, especially those monoembryonic one with the thick, large embryos. You probably might not even need to dehusk them. But something that's like an alfalfa, and probably something like some of the Thai mangoes, you probably have to dehusk. They just don't seem to have quite a bit of energy to kind of push out of the embryos as well. So you get a bit more failures than success. So that's my experience with this. And I recently moved some small, not small, but I moved some of my 1 gallons into these 15 gallons. So I start off a lot of my seedlings in this, if it's a interesting variety versus kind of like a alfalfa. So these are like supposed to be 1 gallon, but they're probably not even 1 gallon. They probably might be even smaller than that. The plastic isn't like tough. Plastic is a bit more kind of not flimsy, not tough, but somewhere in between. I like them because they're cheap and I could cut them easily once they outgrow in the pot. Like when they outgrow in the pot, I just cut them. Lots of times my seedlings, the roots are like coming out of the pot, so I could just cut them easily. So I got a bunch of these right here. So this one was one that, let's see, let me show you guys exactly the size. It was in something like this, and I put in a 15 gallon, and this is a sweet toy. 3 chunks on here. This is a guava, Saint Talon. I definitely needed to up pot this. They were kind of beginning to struggle a little bit in the 1 gallon, just because the roots was just kind of coming out and everything. So here's a lemon zest one, just recently up potted, and a nice looking honey kiss, and another kind of guava one. I have a pina colada, and it's a very interesting kind of plump small seed, and it sent up tons of trunks, polyembryonic, tons of kind of shoots. So we'll see what happens with this. It's a coconut cream one right here. I got a bunch of new ones started. This is mostly a combination of some turpentine seeds I got. I got the turpentines from my friend Vinay, he had a grafted tree that died and the turpentine lived, and that turpentine was pretty large. It was like one of the largest trees in his yard. So I thought, hey, I got some fruits from him. I ate it. I'm planting it out, and the rest is some Laverne Manillas, and here's a California Remit. Really surprised that it is doing this well for being planted this late in the summer. I planted this around in October, so I wish I wrote down the date, but it pushed out pretty vigorously. It's my California Remit. Lots of other ones. I just kind of put everything in a truck and everything in a pot and see what does well. Let's see what else. I do have a few other ones, and here is probably my last kind of seedling project for this year. These are some indoor mango seedlings I started. I'm starting it indoor because I really want to get these varieties going. So the rest, like I have them outdoor, and the late in the year they make it great, but they don't. But this is right here is an ice cream seedling. I really like the taste of ice cream, and if I could get something that's even in the same flavor profile, that'd be great. And the other two right here is Brian's peach cobbler seedling, which is monoembryonic. This one seems to be pushing, and I really want to see what it does. I want to see how the seedlings grow. I'm very interested in what his seedlings from his tree would do. So I mean, this is a long video, but that kind of covers a lot of my potted trees and the projects I have on it. Alright guys, you made it this far. Thanks for staying with me. Alright, till next time.